Thank you very much. Let's take our seats. Good morning, everybody. I think I should give my address in Kiswahili because I have tried to encourage as many of us to learn Kiswahili. It is a language spoken in, I think, almost 12 countries in our region. But I will spare you that today only. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome you, and I thank you most sincerely for accepting my invitation and taking time to join me this morning. I know that we have established a tradition that we will be engaging with ambassadors, high commissioners, representatives of various global international organizations that are resident in Kenya as a way of building bridges so that we can consolidate our relationship and understand each other more, and so that you can be able to represent not just your countries, but also understand us so that we can better enhance our partnership. That's why we established this annual engagement as a deliberate and regular feature of our diplomatic calendar in recognition of the essential role that sustained consultations with resident diplomatic corps plays in advancing cooperation and understanding. This gathering, therefore, offers us a timely opportunity to reflect together on the significant developments of the past year at the national level, on the regional front, and we all understand what has been going on globally, so that we may proceed with a shared understanding of the realities shaping our relations and our responsibilities. Excellencies, 2025 marked a defining phase in Kenya's socio-economic development journey. It stands out as a period when many of the reforms and strategic initiatives undertaken by this administration began to yield measurable and visible results. Across key sectors, policy choices have translated into tangible progress, affirming both the soundness of our direction and the resilience of our people. These gains have strengthened confidence in the course of our economy, deepened social cohesion, and laid firmer foundation for inclusive and sustainable growth in the years ahead. Central to the progress recorded in the past year is the continued expansion of some of our signature projects. Just to give you maybe 3 or 4 areas that were of critical concern to this administration. As we all understand, we emerged in 2022 from the adverse effects of COVID, from the serious challenges that came as a result of the situation of conflict in Europe, and the many other commodity issues that came into play. And as a result, most of our economies were constrained. Our fiscal space was limited, and debt became a very serious challenge to many countries, including Kenya. In fact, statistics showed that Kenya had one of the biggest Eurobond in our part of the world. And many people were wondering. I remember even the Secretary General of the United Nations, my friend Antonio Guterres, asking me what's going to happen when this thing falls apart and Kenya defaults. because to many it was no longer if, it was when. But by God's grace, we managed to consolidate our economy. Kenya actually was listed to be among 6 countries that would default. Fortunately for us, 5 of our colleagues defaulted, Kenya did not. And we had to make very difficult policy choices, sometimes very uncomfortable. I remember my first assignment when I sat in a room called number 6 in that building was to reduce our budget by 300 billion shillings and to put a stop to some of the subsidies on fuel, on unga, that weren't really getting to the people but costing us an arm and a leg. Today, sorry, thank you. Today, with confidence, I think we have taken the corner. Our economy is much more stable than it was at that time, as you're all aware. Our inflation, which was way around 9%, now is at 4.4, 4.5. Our exchange rate that had run amok is now stabilized for the last year and a half, almost 2 years actually, at 128, 129. And our dollar reserves, which had also dwindled to about $5.7 billion in 2022, we now have the highest foreign exchange reserves in Kenya's history at $12.3 billion. So we have, with the support and encouragement of many of friends and partners, we have managed to consolidate our economy. We still have a lot to do on it to make sure that we avoid the pitfalls of the past. The policy choices have sometimes been uncomfortable, but I want to say absolutely necessary, because unless we did that, we would have gone the direction many of our colleagues went. Number 2, we took the decision that we needed to stabilize food security in our country. The biggest challenge that I encountered when I came into office was the price of stable food. Many of you witnessed people in the streets with sufurias. I know you know what sufurias are on their heads, and that kind of situation. We've had to register all farmers. Today we have a register of 7.1, I think by this month, 7.2 million farmers. We are now giving out fertilizer on voucher. We are working on ensuring that reforming actually the whole agricultural sector. We had challenges with brokers and cartels and people who had cornered the agricultural sector. We have cleaned up our sugar sector. Many of you remember, those of us who are members of COMESA, Kenya has been asking for COMESA safeguards for the last almost 20 years. But I can now confidently say that we have reformed the sugar sector, and we have 200,000 new farmland on sugar we have registered and licensed another 5 sugar mills. We have enhanced our production from about 500,000 tons to 815,000 metric tons. Hopefully this year we intend to get to 1 million tons, and in another year or two, Kenya will be a net exporter of sugar. That is our plan. And so are we with coffee and tea and milk, and we have seen those sectors grow. And I want to thank many friends, development partners. The World Bank have come through for us in the agricultural sector, and we have made demonstrable progress. In fact, our staple food maize, we have increased our production from about 44 million bags in 2022 to 75 million bags this year. Again, the highest in Kenya's history. As you're all aware, we had also a very big challenge with education. Close to 23 universities were technically insolvent because the funding model that existed did not work. We had challenges with the competence-based curriculum. There was a misalignment between teachers, students, and other stakeholders. And that is why I immediately, upon coming into office, I set up a presidential working party that gave us recommendations. We have implemented those recommendations and aligned them with our manifesto. And that has seen us build an extra 23,000 classrooms. I must again commend the World Bank for coming through to us, for partnering with us in the building of those new classrooms. We have hired an extra 100,000 teachers in the last 3 years. In fact, 1/3 of all the teachers teaching in Kenya today were hired in the last 3 years to close the gap on teacher-student ratio. We still have a small challenge on laboratories. Again, I want to thank development partners for coming through with us. We are now constructing 1,600 laboratories in different schools, especially those in rural areas and some in our informal settlements. And we've rolled out a new student-centered funding model for our technical, middle level and higher education, including universities. Today, if you ask any vice chancellor in any university, they will tell you that while they weren't able to pay staff in 2022, today they can pay their staff, they can pay their suppliers, they can pay their pay as you earn, and most of the universities that were technically insolvent are now walking out of insolvency. We've had also to re-engineer, as you know, our health sector. We did undertake to the country that we were going to, in fact, my commitment was to reform the National Health Insurance Fund. But when we went through the motions, it became impossible to reform it. So we had to re-engineer it altogether. So we had to replace the law. And because we had tried that so many times, we tried it with my predecessor, it didn't work. So this time round, we decided to overhaul, actually, to change the whole setup. We replaced the NHIF law with 5 pieces of legislation. And today, Kenyans that are registered on the SHA portal are 29.3 million, up from just under 8 million under the National Hospital Insurance Fund. Again, I want to commend many development partners that have come through to support our health program. The latest being the United States that signed with us a health program that will avail over the next 5 years about 200 billion Kenya shillings, and all the other friends that have also supported our health, especially social protection and many other spaces. We have also undertaken a very robust job creation program, from housing to digital jobs to export of labor to what we are doing in the Nyota program. Is a whole array. I can confirm to you that we have 1.5 million people today working who are not working in 2022. In our housing program, for example, we have close to 500,000 people working today in the constructions that are going on in our markets, in our hostels, in our affordable housing. I guess you see, slowly Kenya is turning into a construction site. Right from State House here, there is a construction going on. We have a construction going on in Talanta Stadium, in Bomas, in our markets. The roads are also going on. So we're trying to push all levers to make sure that we consolidate our gains as a country. And I will not fail to commend the UN bodies, representatives of nations who are friends of Kenya. You have come through for us in different facets, in different ways, to support this undertaking that is our responsibility as Kenyans, but you have come to support us as friends of this nation. And we are, on behalf of the people of Kenya, I want to say we are truly, truly grateful to all of you. As I outlined in my State of the Nation address last year, we committed ourselves to a new ambitious 10-year national transformation program. Because in my estimation, much as we have made some significant progress in all the spaces we have in terms of consolidating our economy, consolidating our food security, looking at our social protection, whether it is ensuring that we have more resources in our schools, undertaking a much more robust health development framework. And I must say the private sector has really come through to support our interventions. I was really pleasantly surprised that, for example, in our housing program, we now have signed contracts of maybe $4.5 billion. This is close to 650 billion Kenya shillings. And this we have done, and except one, all the contractors are actually Kenyans. Kenyan farms, except one. And I'm talking about close to 300 contractors. So the housing program has largely been undertaken. The markets program, the development of hostels has been undertaken by Kenyan contractors, building capacity locally. But I must say they have learned a lot from their partners from outside Kenya. We did also undertake one very important subject that is a conversation that has been going on in Kenya. The culture of saving. You know, we've had not a very good culture of saving. So it is one of the issues that I undertook that I would try and drive. I am very happy that our social security, which we have built over the years. In 2022, we had 312 billion shillings in our social security. Today, 3 years later, because we changed the contribution structure and we brought many more people into the equation. In the last 3 years, we have grown our social security fund from 312 to 670 billion this year. We believe that next year we will get to 1 trillion, and slowly but surely we will build enough resources for us to be able to manage the challenges of access to patient capital that we can use to underwrite our development, even as we get support from partners and friends and work with the private sector as well. But as I said, even with what we have done, it is not sufficient. We need to look ahead. And looking ahead, we have, as I stated in the State of the Nation address, we are focused on doing 3 fundamental things, interventions, for us to be able to lift our country to the next level. Number 1 is we need to generate energy. As you are aware, we have 3,300 megawatts in our grid today. For us to undertake the kind of technology transition, industrialization, and manufacturing that is necessary for us to move the country to the next level, we need energy. And we have good reserves of renewable energy in geothermal. I think we have capacity of another 10,000 megawatts. We have another 20,000, maybe more, of wind energy. We have a lot more of solar. So we anticipate to generate 10,000 megawatts of energy in the next 7 years. That is the plan. This will require not just public money. Of course, we are going to provide public money, but we will need to crowd in private sector money, money from other entities, investors, pension funds, venture capital, and many other people who have resources to invest in that space. Number 2 is we need to expand our infrastructure. We are still not yet there. If you look at our infrastructure, we have developed 20,000 kilometers of tarmac in the last 60 years. Our intention is to develop another 28,000 in the next 7 years, to double the number of tarmac roads in Kenya. We already are on course. We have mapped out what the areas are, and we believe that we can raise the resources to undertake this transformation. That includes the modernization of our airports, starting with Jomo Kenyatta, extending the railway from Naivasha to Kisumu and onward to Uganda, then to the region. Actually, the railway, I think we've already set a date. We have found the resources, both public and private. So we will be starting the construction and launching the same in March this year. Again, we have finalized discussions with the airport. We also want to modernize our airport. All of you know we don't have much of an airport, you know. Our airport is the arrival is on the tarmac. So and it's way overdue, you know.